This week on the Tech on Tap podcast, we unlock the mysteries of the new NetApp offering, BlueXP.
Welcome to the Tech on Tap podcast with Justin Parisi.
I love NetApp.
Oh, yeah.
NetApp, I love this company. Support.
I love NetApp because it's so funny.
Hello and welcome to the Tech on Tap podcast. My name is Justin Parisi. I'm here in the basement of my house, and with me today I have a few special guests to talk to us all about NetApp's new offering, BlueXP. So to do that, we have Cecille Kellam here, new to the podcast. So Cecille, what do you do here at NetApp? How do I reach you?
Hi, yeah. Thank you for having me, Justin. Cecille Kellam here. I am a member of a team that covers the data services collectively. So we cover products like backup, tiering, sync, data sense, and edge caching. You can reach me at Cecille K at NetApp.com or find me on my LinkedIn and reach out to me there and I'll shoot you an email.
All right, excellent. Also with us today, Phoebe Goh. Phoebe, if people don't know who you are by now, what do you do here at NetApp and how do we reach you?
Well, hi, Justin. Thanks for having me. I was going to say people may recognize me from newsreels on NetApp TV.
from the YouTubes.
The YouTubes too, yeah. But I am currently a principal technical evangelist at NetApp, which basically means I get to go around talking to people about what they're doing and being really excited about what NetApp is doing and kind of joining the dots and telling some great stories. So that's pretty much what I do every day. And you can reach me on LinkedIn, of course, but also I am normally on the Twitters and I'm also on the Fediverse now. So just look for Phoebe Goh on either of those platforms.
The Fediverse?
Yeah, it's the replacement for Twitter.
There's like 8 replacements for Twitter. I'm waiting for it all to suss out, and like we have the final replacement. There's Post, there's Mastodon, there's, I guess, Fediverse.
Well, yeah, the Fediverse is neat because it's kind of, if you think about what Mastodon is, it's bringing a lot of these distributed communities together and federating them, hence the Fediverse. So as somebody who enjoys distributed technologies, there's a little part of my geeky self that really enjoys how it's all put up together.
Did Fedi WAP start that? No?
I don't know.
Anyway, also with us today, last but not least, before we forget about him, Semion Mazor is here. So Semion, what do you do here at NetApp? How do we reach you?
Hi, Justin and Cecille and Phoebe. I'm Semion Mazor. I'm a product marketing manager in the Cloud Innovation Center in NetApp in Tel Aviv. And you can reach me over my email, semion@netapp.com, or reach me out over LinkedIn.
All right, excellent. So we have a good collection of people here to talk to us all about the new offering that is BlueXP. So if you're not familiar with what BlueXP is, that's okay, because I had only heard about it when it first came out. So you are not alone. Cecille, let's kick us off. What is BlueXP? Give us the high-level overview.
Yeah, BlueXP is our answer to what we've been seeing with our customers around their story as they go through their infrastructure journey and evolving to their cloud strategy. BlueXP is how we're providing a unified control plane with similar workflows, whether you're talking about your on-prem, whether you're talking about the public cloud, or you're talking about a private cloud. We're providing you with the same workflows and then a layer underneath to provide the automation that we know enterprises need to truly scale out these solutions. And all from that single login that's going to be linked back to your NSS support account to provide you with just a much more user-friendly experience for our NetApp customers.
All right. So Phoebe, break that down for me as an idiot. What does that mean?
So, I mean, the way I see it is that we these days have lots of data silos. You know, we have data that lives in data centers, we have data that lives in other people's data centers, and we have the data that lives in the cloud. And when you're trying to think about not just where do I put that data, which is normally, you know, the first question was where do I put it? But the second question is, okay, how do I protect it? And what if I want to move it somewhere? And what if I need better performance or I need to move it to cold storage? Managing that entire data estate gets complex. So all of the NetApp portfolio, our first beginnings in ONTAP through to all the different native data services we run in the public clouds today. How do we make data management easier? And so BlueXP is kind of the evolution of that. It's kind of saying, hey, we have all these great data storage services. We have all these great data management services, migration services. Let's put them into a single control plane. So it doesn't matter where your data is, you're still operating them the same way, as long as you're working with NetApp and partnering with us to help deliver those outcomes that you really want, which is more important in my mind than necessarily physically where that data lives.
Okay. So, Semion, as a storage administrator, if I'm using NetApp and I see yet another tool to manage my storage, what is your message to me? What's happening with Cloud Manager? Can I still use ActiveIQ? Can I keep all this on-prem, or do I have to migrate everything to my cloud resident management system like this is? So what are you telling me?
Yeah, I think the key word you said it is yet another tool. And as somebody that deals with data, if it's storage admin, IT manager, architect, app owner, whatever it is, they need to deal with a lot of different systems, different UI, in some cases, different clouds. And each of them has their own interfaces, their own language, and it's hard to manage all that. And it's getting confusing. Even from NetApp, there's a lot of different interfaces that you need, that each of them has their own credentials and way of operation. And the whole idea behind BlueXP is to have one place when you can manage everything related to your data, whether it's on premises or in the cloud, and to have one consolidated solution control plane to manage it all. So it took what we have in Cloud Manager and combined also other places, integration with the system manager, storage grid, and as we will evolve, it will add more and more capabilities from NetApp into one single place, and you will have single solution to manage it all.
Am I hearing that it's basically combining all these different tools into one overarching way of managing all of that? Is that what I'm hearing, or is it just something else that I have to kind of think about in the long-term infrastructure management piece?
Yeah, this is exactly the idea, to have all of that. Somebody deals with data as a NetApp customer or not yet NetApp customer. What do you do? And I think it comes with dividing into three pillars: build, protect, and govern. So build related to all where my data is stored, what are the performance, who has access to it, and also how do I move data from place to place. And NetApp has a lot to offer in those aspects. The second one is protect. I want to make sure that my data is protected at the highest level I can do. And the third is govern. And there comes all the different aspects of observability, health monitoring, governance, and all this stuff. In terms of products that people familiar with in NetApp, it includes Cloud Insights and ActiveIQ Manager and many other tools as well.
I think you touched on a good point. I was thinking about it too, that today, well, when I started in IT, going back, I downloaded a lot of software. Right, you downloaded all the Java files, right, that you would run, and you'd realize you had the wrong JVM, and you'd have to go and download the right version of Java, and then you'd realize they changed to some new architecture, and you'd have to download that. And then as the internet became popular, a lot of those management tools moved to web URLs. So, and NetApp had ActiveIQ.netapp.com and Cloud Manager.netapp.com, and you bookmarked all of them, and you had to remember which one was which, and you'd open all those tabs, which is kind of how my browser looks these days. And I think what BlueXP does in its very simplest form is it condenses all of those NetApp services into one place to go. So you're not looking for which tab is it, and they changed the URL, so I now need to bookmark a different tab and go to a different place. And I would say it's just reducing those extra cognitive steps as a storage administrator or as a system cloud administrator who's trying to think, okay, where do I go to get my job done? BlueXP just kind of makes that, to me, a lot simpler. And that's a nice thing.
By having all this information within the same control plane and all able to speak to each other, we're able to build out things like the ransomware protection dashboard that pulls information from several different products as well as has hooks into other products. So when you identify where your mission critical data is, you're able to back that data up, or you find something that's unprotected, you're able to go into System Manager and apply those things to it that are recommended. And then even further down the road, taking that information and providing our customers with information into things like CO2 emissions by gathering all the different information we can pull from different NetApp systems and beyond, and creating dashboards around that provide really insightful information to our customers as they're planning and growing.
Another great example for that is data protection. So you can manage your local snapshot or primary ONTAP to secondary ONTAP on System Manager. And then you had a cloud backup to replicate the data to object storage, to StorageGrid or in the cloud. And you had different tools to do that. And with BlueXP, what you will be able to do is to manage it all. So I have my data, I have this, and this copies of the data, whether it's locally, remote, in NetApp, ONTAP native, or in object storage. Now I can have all the different capabilities in one place. I can have easy recommendation. Okay, I need to restore. So where is the best place to restore? All in one place.
So how does one convince someone that is kind of set in their ways to move to this kind of architecture? And I like to think of it in terms of like a blinking 12 o'clock, right? So like your VCR, you get this new, and VCR is going way back, but any device that has a clock on it, right? And if I'm someone who isn't used to setting a clock on this device, it's not important enough to me sometimes. So I just let it blink, right? It's always going to be 12 o'clock. I don't care. All I care about is the functionality of this device. So how do you get your customers to look at BlueXP and say, that's intriguing enough for me to switch from what I'm using today? I definitely want to do that. How are you getting people to understand the true value of what that offers?
Yeah, for myself, as somebody who's lucky enough to live near our TP campus, I get to interact with customers that come into our EBC center from all over the world. And there's a lot of common themes. And those common themes are around pain points, around things like skills gaps and having an ever-changing cloud and on-prem strategy that might have gone from them saying that they were all in 2 years ago with Azure to recognizing that they're probably going to have a multi-cloud strategy that might still only be about 75% of their infrastructure in the public cloud. And it's taking those things that we hear around how the skills gap is keeping them from being able to move forward with these projects. And by those projects not moving forward, that's further slowing their own innovation within their organization, which keeps them from being able to make more money that they can reinvest in their business needs. So it's finding those commonalities and relating that to why we developed the BlueXP to overcome those challenges with our customers in mind.
So Phoebe, I assume you've used both Cloud Manager and BlueXP at this point. What are you finding as an end user that might be interesting for people to know about BlueXP that maybe they didn't know about it as compared to Cloud Manager? Like, what makes it a better experience for you?
Oh, I'm glad you gave me that question. I'm really excited about this because I think going back to geeking out behind the scenes a little bit, we show the really nice UI. And if you log into BlueXP, it looks pretty and they've improved a little bit. So Semion and the team have improved, how it looks and the user experience. But I think behind the scenes, what I'm really excited about is, I would say, they're kind of common services that allow us to do what Cecille said earlier, which is connect these services together, that when you log in once, you can log in with your SSO because you can connect it to your company's directory. And it just creates a seamless experience between all of our data services and data management and data storage tools. And so that to me is really exciting because what that then enables is more flexibility in the way that you consume them. So for example, that the APIs can be commonalized. Is that the word? They can be made common rather than saying, okay, I'm going to think about what's the API for managing my data? What's the API for protecting my data? You're kind of speaking to the BlueXP service API. And then going forward, that also increases flexibility for other things like even financial management, how I'm managing my licenses, being able to share. What I really like is the common vocabulary between procurement people and maybe storage admins who typically don't speak. I mean, they speak English, but who knows whether they're speaking the same English. If you've ever tried to talk to procurement, you realize that the things they care about and the things that an IT person cares about are not always the same. So I think that there's this common layer that BlueXP brings in, and it's not about simplifying and dumbing it down, but it's about making it easier to consume. So that to me is key, and it's critical for any kind of control plane these days because you've got multiple cloud providers. I mean, just look at how people are talking about multi-cloud today. It's all about common ways of consuming different clouds or common vocabulary and common licensing. That's what we really want.
Semion, this is a cloud resident technology. So how are you approaching that to customers that either are completely averse to using the cloud? They're like, nope, never going to do it. or customers that can't because they are in secure environments? How are they going to experience BlueXP?
I was thinking about the same thing with your previous question. And I think that if you look at Cloud Manager, it was built to deploy Cloud Volumes ONTAP. And during the time, it were added with additional capabilities in the data services, and it became more, but it still was about managing the things related to cloud. With BlueXP, it's a different story. We're saying, okay, this is the one place you can manage all what's related to your data estate, everything that's related to ONTAP, and not only. If we take it more technically, BlueXP can be deployed in several modes. It can be fully SaaS. It can be on-premises with the SaaS layer, with the management layer, and it can be also in a dark site, in a totally isolated network, not connected to the internet, fully managed by the customers. And we have such customers that already does that. I don't think it's related to cloud or not cloud. It's more related to have one place to manage it all, whether it's multi-cloud or only on-premises.
I guess I get why people might think that it's all cloud, because that's kind of where NetApp pushes people, right? They're like, hey, we're cloud, we're cloud, we're cloud. When we actually have a very still robust on-prem story that some people are very appreciative of. So it's good to know that BlueXP can handle both the customers that are looking forward into the cloud and the ones that are okay with staying where they are today on-prem.
I think it's a really good indication that cloud is here to stay. And it's not like you're going, okay, I'm going to choose a cloud and then I'm going to just focus on that cloud. And I know some customers do, and you can use BlueXP for that too. But I think where many of our customers are going and many organizations are headed is in this world where it's not all or nothing. And so having a service like BlueXP that kind of looks across all of that is really what customers need and they like having.
Yeah, and I think the word cloud is one of those things that can oftentimes distract people away from what we're actually discussing. There's so many times that I'd go into a demo with customers and they were on-prem only customers without a cloud initiative. And I'd bring them into Cloud Manager to show them some of the capabilities that we had. And immediately they'd say, we're not in the cloud. And of course, I'd have a little joke that, well, we can't just call it manager, right? But by bringing everything under here into this single BlueXP platform, I can speak to it as their on-prem private cloud. And that resonates with our customers that aren't ready to take that footstep into the public cloud.
You gave me an idea, Cecille. I'm dressing up as a cloud for Halloween next year.
Don't you already
That could go
dress up
so
like a
many
cloud?
different ways. I love it.
Isn't that your natural form, Phoebe? You're Jigglypuff.
Ah, don't make me sing.
Another point related to what Cecile said, and Cecile and I work together on several success stories with our customers. And I think we have many customers that starting with fully on-prem, that are currently on-prem, but they do have in mind some kind of strategy or plan to also have footprint in the cloud, but they're not there yet. So with BlueXP, it gives you the ability to be flexible about it. So currently have the great capabilities fully on-prem, but then with the same platform, the same UI, the same thing you used to have, also extend to the cloud.
Yeah, if you become comfortable setting up snap mirror replications between your on-prem AFFs within BlueXP, then when you're ready to take that jump and try out CVO, for instance, then it's going to be the same workflow that you were used to, making it that much easier to adopt and get your people trained up on how to use it.
So Cecille, if I'm an admin, and honestly, this has been something that has been bothering me as an admin since early days of ONTAP, is the ability to limit access to specific SVMs using RBAC. So being able to have logins that are not the admin to be able to manage my overall architecture. So does BlueXP address that in any way? Can I have more granular security controls over my environment?
Yeah, that's a great question, Justin. And one of the things that I heard most frequently speaking with customers, partners, and my internal customers, the other teams here at NetApp, the most over the past year is that they needed better role-based access controls, that they could really customize workflows and ensure that they were adhering to things like least privileges and just ensuring that their architecture and the security behind everything was locked down so that only the people that needed to be able to do things were able to do those. And we have extended the role-based access control from 4 different levels to moving to 9 different levels, as well as we have things roadmapped around being able to do things like custom roles and permissions and policies within the BlueXP for users, which will help to even further create not only very customized workflows, but have the right automation to drive things, whether it's business units, products, and different components of their infrastructure.
So that's one thing that BlueXP can do that maybe System Manager or Cloud Manager can't do. So let's talk about other things that you can find in BlueXP and not in the other pieces of management. Like what can it not do today that something that Cloud Manager can do today? So let's start with what BlueXP can do versus something Cloud Manager can't do.
I think it was kind of what Cecille was saying earlier, having the ransomware protection dashboard, it's kind of more fleshed out than it was in Cloud Manager, like they were the starting point. But I mean, I guess at the end of the day, it's not what it can do versus what Cloud Manager couldn't do, but it's more what has it added, like where is it going, right? That Cloud Manager already was, and it's now going, oh, I can do more things now. What else can I do with my data? That's kind of where BlueXP is. It looks the same, like it feels the same. So it's hard to say it does something different.
I think the approach and the concept is different. Like Cloud Manager in the mindset was, again, started from deploying CVO and added more services and started to have integration with other tools in NetApp. But the concept was mainly for cloud management and deployment of tool and more like another layer for different products. And BlueXP is a different concept at all. The idea is to have one place and to integrate everything seamlessly and to have it all in one place. So it's more in terms of what it is and where it's going to.
By having the common services layer underneath and what we're building out, it also allows for things like portability of licensing from there and consumption. So being able to illustrate whether you are consuming through your AWS marketplace, through a private offer to burn down an EDP spend or a MAC commit spend in Microsoft or the same in Google. It's providing that visibility of your consumption as well as showing what you're using in Keystone and what your software licenses are for your ONTAP, and then providing you with flexibility ultimately is what we're working towards, so that if you were to have a project, for instance, that you have a certain budget allocated for, the beginning stages of it, if it's a disaster recovery and backup project, you may not know exactly how much CVO you may need or how much cloud backup you may need initially. But you do have funding that you can apply to things. So being able to have some exchangeability and portability of what you're consuming with NetApp and us not locking you into, 50 terabytes of backup when you actually discover you need 30 of CVO and 20 of backup, and providing that all from one single login, one single place that you can go to illustrate and show this consumption and show where you're spending your money, so that as you're planning for budget, you have that available to you.
I would say as well that one difference in BlueXP compared to Cloud Manager, and something that it might take some time to wrap your head around, is that it's not just for the storage guy or gal or person or cat, whoever's organizing your storage, which is kind of like Semion was saying, deploying CVO was typically the job of a storage person, sometimes the storage architect, sometimes the storage admin. And what Cecille was just saying is it goes through other roles in the business as well, and other people with different expectations of what should happen with their data. And so I think that's pretty powerful. And hey, if you're the only person who logs in, then guess what? You have the power to access all of this and to show people what they're getting, as opposed to just, oh, here's the storage, this is how I deploy it.
Yeah, and I imagine that comes with some shiny, pretty graphs for the management types, right? That want to see what this money that we spend on this infrastructure is getting us.
Only the shiniest, prettiest graphs.
So this all sounds like things that came from maybe like ONTAP Essentials. Is that tying into BlueXP at all? The Cloud Insights feature?
Yes, Cloud Insights is being brought under the BlueXP header to allow people to take advantage of that information, and ultimately to allow us to use that information to provide more correlation reporting and things like showing from power consumption how that can equate to CO2 reduction when you're talking about being more green and more efficient.
Okay. We've talked a lot about ONTAP tools that fit under this umbrella. Are we bringing in any third-party partners into the BlueXP umbrella that can be accessed through that interface?
Yeah, I think you should interview them.
Well, and we will have one for next week. I know that they exist, and that's fluid, and we'll talk to them next show. But anything else. Like I know we do partnerships with companies like Varonis or companies like Veeam or Rubrik. So are we integrating with their backup architecture technologies? Are we integrating with the F policy stuff? How does that work?
I think maybe the easiest way to answer that is to cover what is currently part of BlueXP, and this maybe will provide an answer. So if you just go to bluexp.netapp.com, you can see a menu with everything that's currently available there. So in storage, we have the on-premises ONTAP, cloud volumes ONTAP, FS6, ANF, and CVS. Then we have all the mobility capabilities, which copy and sync, tiering, edge caching. We have all the protection, backup and recovery, replication, ransom protection, which we talked earlier, and Kubernetes. And then we have the section of analysis and control, which has observability, which is cloud insights, classification, which was familiar as data science, and digital advisors. And I think this gives a view of the broadness of what is currently part of BlueXP, and it's going to be much, much more going over the time.
I love how it relates it to the actual use case and not a product now. Are you looking to tier? Are you looking to edge cache? Are you looking for ransomware protection? I think that's a great update that we did to be more user-friendly and help people find what they're looking for.
Right. And as an admin, if I'm already using something like Veeam or Rubrik to back up things, I'm probably going to want to keep using that. And if I can't access that through BlueXP and I wanted to add it, how would I talk to somebody to get something like that interface added into BlueXP, or is that even possible?
I think what you're getting at, Justin, is where do those extensions, where do they start, but where could they go in the future if somebody wanted to add a third-party service to BlueXP? It absolutely has that extensibility because we call them extensions, but how would you go about doing that?
Yeah, and I guess that's maybe something to address at a later time. But, ultimately, I think it's nice to be able to think that everyone would use everything NetApp to do everything, but that's just not the reality, right? People have their things they like to use. They are already using it, so they don't want to move a bunch of stuff. So there needs to be some sort of way to integrate with that. And maybe it doesn't have to be BlueXP, right? Maybe they can just keep using whatever tools they were using before. But if we're talking about a total umbrella to keep everything under, then that's a good place to start. And if that's not possible, that's fine. I was just curious if we were looking at expanding that to include things like links to partners, integrations, extensions, whatever you want to call them.
Well, I think the part of the major reason for using the APIs and having the common services layer is that it does leave the door open to where we can continue to evolve our portfolio and what we provide to our customers.
Now, that said, we do have our own application integration backup things through Astra and Astra Control Service. So, Semion, how does BlueXP integrate with the Astra suite?
It will be down the road. It will be integrated, but in a bit later stage.
Okay, so it's something that's possible, but not yet there today in BlueXP.
Exactly.
And the same with the Spot portfolio as well, Justin. And looking at it kind of half in and half out of the NetApp perspective, if I look at what NetApp has, we have built and we have acquired a lot of great different services across everything from data storage through to compute. And now this next phase, it's less exciting than, buying and building new things, but it's that integration piece of, okay, how do people want to get the best value out of all of these services? Do we put them together? Do we have them separate? Do we create different UIs? And BlueXP is one way to say, hey, we do think that people want to access similar services through a single control plane.
So we've focused a lot on the ONTAP perspective here. So what about things like Storage Grid or E-Series and other things in the NetApp portfolio? Does BlueXP tie into those as well, or is that another one of those features?
With the launch of the BlueXP platform, we brought the E-Series and Storage Grid devices both under that control. For myself, it's been something that customers have been requesting for a great deal of time because you can actually utilize things like backup service to go from on-prem to a Storage Grid device and have that additional third copy in object storage and still have an entirely on-prem footprint.
Okay, good. Because I know that that's something that people have been kind of clamoring for, to be able to manage those, I don't want to call them ancillary, but they're not ONTAP, right? So things that are not ONTAP into a single area to manage them all, because it's tough enough to learn one new product, but when you got to learn 3 or 4 new products, it gets a little harder. So having something that can kind of consolidate it all is going to be a boon, I think, for people that have those mixed environments with different NetApp portfolio products.
Yeah, I think this is exactly what BlueXP comes to solve. Like, it's not another control plane. It's the control plane. And going forward, in some products, it's already being delivered. When you go into a new version of System Manager, it will redirect you to BlueXP. And as we go further in timeline, this is what is planned to be.
So I've referred to all the NetApp portfolio stuff like Storage Grid and ONTAP and E-Series, but a lot of people are still using or have been using things outside of NetApp, like, cloud providers like AWS and Azure and that sort of thing, outside of any of the CVS or CVO stuff. So what about them? What is their experience going to be like when they're integrating with this BlueXP interface?
I would say I like that it gives customers flexibility where if you are entirely in a cloud provider, let's say you've committed to spend all of your IT budget and all of your application budget in something like AWS, you can deploy a service like Amazon FSx for NetApp ONTAP, which is bringing all that value of ONTAP into AWS, and you can deploy that, you can manage that through the AWS console, and you can manage your data there. And you're living in one cloud provider. But if you don't just have one cloud provider, it really makes sense to look at BlueXP, because then, like we said earlier, you see your storage grid, you see your E-Series, you can activate all the data services from FSx for ONTAP within BlueXP. So it's giving that flexibility of how do I want to operate? Where do I want to operate when I'm talking about my data estate? And it gives you a couple of extra services, right? Things like looking at governance and compliance data. BlueXP is really designed to say, we understand your data best. You can understand AWS best from within the AWS console. You can understand Azure best from within the Azure console. But when you want to talk about data, then come and talk to us. That's kind of neat from a customer perspective. But of course, do it where it makes sense for you. That's the nice thing about NetApp.
Yeah, absolutely. So what if I'm using more than one cloud, like this whole multi-cloud approach? Does BlueXP support me there?
I feel like that's where it is possibly its most powerful, Justin. I'm sure Semion is like, I love that you brought up this question, because that's where we're actually seeing a lot of our customers going, is into multiple cloud providers, not necessarily because they wanted to, but because they kind of end up that way. There's a workload that makes sense to run in a different cloud provider or to keep it on premises. And in that case, when you're looking across the data management of all of that, there is no better tool than BlueXP.
Semion, you've been summoned by Phoebe. What do you think of that?
I just agree. I think I couldn't say it better than Phoebe.
But aren't you going to at least try to say it better than Phoebe, or is that an impossible task?
No, I'm not. I don't think we're equal in our abilities.
All right. That's fair.
Speaking to, customers that I have worked with personally, I have some that have mandates to be in all three clouds. And that is exactly the reason why they're with NetApp and why they're continuing to grow their data estate and their footprint with us, is because they know that they'll be able to go to Google, to Azure, and to AWS, all with the same workflows and from the same control plane, regardless of which of those clouds that they're looking at.
Pretty convinced that this is going to be a good future-looking product. So, Cecille, if I'm looking to try it out or even use it in my environment today, what's the process look like there?
Yeah, so if you are somebody who's currently using Cloud Manager, we can assist you through changing over to the BlueXP platform. But for all of our new customers or somebody who's looking to try it out, go to bluexp.netapp.com and you'll go to the Get Started, and you're able to start utilizing that to manage your data estate at no charge from NetApp.
We should get you to do the ad, Cecille. You have the best ad voice.
All right, excellent. So it sounds like we got a place to go to take a look at this. So, Cecille, if we wanted to reach you, how do we do that?
Yeah, please do reach out. It's CecilleK@netapp.com, and I will be happy to assist anybody. When people ask me what I do for NetApp, I tell them I talk about NetApp Cloud to anybody that'll listen. So please do reach out.
And Semion.
It's Semion@netapp.com, and I'm available there. You're welcome.
All right. And Phoebe.
Don't email me. That's my request, because I get way too many emails. I would say reach out on Twitter @Phoebe Goh, and I generally respond to that much faster than any other form of communication right now.
All right. Excellent. Well, thanks so much, everyone, for joining us and talking to us all about BlueXP and helping us learn a little bit more about how this is going to work out for people as a single management plane.
All right, that music tells me it's time to go. If you'd like to get in touch with us, send us an email to podcast@netapp.com or send us a tweet @netapp.
As always, if you'd like to subscribe, find us on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, Stitcher, or via TechOnTapPodcast.com. If you like the show today, leave us a review. On behalf of the entire Tech on Tap podcast team, I'd like to thank Phoebe Goh, Cecille, Kellam, and Semion Mazor for joining us today. As always, thanks for listening.
Oh, yeah. Is it just me that's getting off on this? Oh, yeah.